The year was 2387, and humanity had spread across 12 star systems like seeds in the wind. Their ships were good enough to travel between worlds, but they were nothing compared to the massive warships that belonged to the old galactic powers. Every human who looked up at the stars knew they were small fish in a very big ocean. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon, watching the dead ship floating in space. It was huge, maybe 3 times the size of anything humans had ever built. The metal hull was dark and cold, covered with strange symbols that no human had ever seen before. It had been drifting in the Kepler 442 system for who knows how long, just waiting for someone to find it. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from that ship," said Chief Engineer Rodriguez, looking at his screens with wide eyes. "The power systems are completely different from anything we know. And the size of those weapon ports, they're massive." Kane nodded slowly. He had been exploring space for 20 years, but this was different. This ship was not human, and it was not like any of the alien ships they had encountered before. The other galactic races usually ignored humans or treated them like children. But this ship looked like it could fight a war all by itself. Dr. Ellis, the team's expert on alien cultures, was already suiting up for the boarding mission. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had spent her life studying dead civilizations. "Admiral, if this ship is what I think it is, we might have just found something that could change everything for humanity." The boarding team moved through the airlock and into the alien ship. Emergency lights flickered in the corridors, casting strange shadows on the walls. The ship was big enough that they could have driven trucks through the hallways. Everything was built on a scale that made humans feel tiny. "The air is breathable," reported Lieutenant Cooper over the radio. "Whoever built this ship had similar needs to us." "But sir, you need to see this." Kane followed the team deeper into the ship. They found rooms filled with equipment they could not understand, weapons that looked like they could crack planets, and engines that were the size of city blocks. But the real discovery was in what the humans called the computer room. "Admiral, this is incredible," Dr. Ellis said, her voice shaking with excitement. "The computer systems are still working. And they're not just working, they're complete. I'm seeing technical documents, construction plans, weapon specifications. This isn't just a warship, sir. This is like finding a library of advanced military technology." Rodriguez was already connecting human equipment to the alien computers. His hands moved quickly over his tools, and soon streams of alien data were flowing into human systems. "Sir, these power readings are off the charts. This ship was designed to fight entire fleets by itself. And according to these files, there were hundreds of ships just like it." The data that flowed from the alien computers told a story that made Kane's blood run cold. The ship had belonged to something called the Valyrian Empire, a civilization that had ruled dozens of star systems. They had built these massive warships to protect their territory from threats. But according to the records, the Valyrians were gone now, wiped out completely. What happened to them? Kane asked. Dr. Ellis was reading through the translated files, her face growing pale. "Something called the Dominion. According to these records, the Dominion showed up about 50 years ago and started conquering everything in their path. The Valyrians fought back with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. The Dominion doesn't just defeat their enemies, they completely destroy them." Kane felt his stomach drop. He had heard whispers about the Dominion from other spacefaring races, but everyone was too scared to talk about them openly. Now he was looking at the records of an entire civilization that had been erased from existence. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "you need to see this. These aren't just records of one ship. This computer has complete construction blueprints for something they called a Star Destroyer. It's like a mobile fortress designed to control entire star systems." The holographic display showed a ship that was beyond anything humans had ever imagined. It was over a mile long, bristling with weapons, and powered by technology that seemed almost magical. The specifications showed armor thick enough to stop planet-killing weapons, and engines powerful enough to move the massive ship faster than most small fighters. Kane studied the display with growing amazement and fear. How many of these did the Valyrians have? According to the records, they built 12 Star Destroyers before the Dominion attacks intensified, Dr. Ellis replied. This ship we're on now appears to be a heavy cruiser, which was considered a support vessel for the Star Destroyers. And sir, there's something else. The records show that the Dominion is still expanding. They're moving through this part of the galaxy, conquering system after system. The weight of the discovery hit Kane like a physical blow. Humanity had been lucky so far, staying in systems that the major powers ignored. But if the Dominion was expanding, it was only a matter of time before they encountered human colonies. And when that happened, humanity would face the same fate as the Valyrians unless they could defend themselves. Can we understand this technology? Kane asked Rodriguez. The engineer was already deep in the alien systems, his eyes bright with the challenge. It's incredibly advanced, but it's not impossible. The basic principles are similar to what we use, just centuries ahead of us. The power systems use some kind of exotic matter we've never seen before, and the weapons operate on energy scales that would power entire human cities. But sir, if we could figure out how to build even one of these Star Destroyers. Kane didn't need him to finish the sentence. One Star Destroyer could defend human space against threats they couldn't even imagine yet. It could turn humanity from a minor species into a real galactic power. But it would also be the most ambitious project humans had ever attempted. The team spent hours copying everything they could from the alien computers. Terabytes of data flowed into human storage systems, construction techniques, material specifications, weapon designs, and tactical information that represented centuries of alien military development. As the horizon prepared to leave the derelict ship behind, Kane stood on the bridge looking at the alien vessel one last time. In his hands was a data storage device containing information that could change the course of human history. The question was whether humanity was ready for what came next. The message he would send back to Earth would start the biggest project humanity had ever undertaken. They were going to build their first Star Destroyer, and they were going to do it before the Dominion found them. The news from Admiral Kane's discovery reached Earth in 3 weeks. When the Colonial Defense Council saw the alien data, they called an emergency meeting that lasted for 2 days straight. Director Hayes sat at the head of the long table, looking at reports that seemed like science fiction stories. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hayes said to the room full of military leaders and scientists, "we have a choice to make. We can hide in our corner of space and hope the Dominion never finds us, or we can build something that might actually protect us." The room erupted in arguments. Some council members thought it was impossible. Others said it was too dangerous. But Dr. Martinez, Earth's top military engineer, stood up and silenced everyone with her words. "I've been studying these alien blueprints for a week," she said. "Yes, it's the most complex thing humanity has ever attempted. Yes, we'll need to invent new technologies just to understand their technologies. But I believe we can do it. More importantly, I believe we have to do it." Within a month, the decision was made. Humanity would build its first Star Destroyer. They called the project Prometheus, after the ancient myth about stealing fire from the gods. The construction site would be the massive orbital shipyards above New Geneva, the largest industrial facility humans had ever built. Captain Foster arrived at New Geneva with orders to oversee the entire project. He was a practical man who had spent his career building space stations and colony ships. But when he saw the Star Destroyer blueprints, even he felt overwhelmed. "Sir," said Chief Designer Park, showing Foster the preliminary construction plans, "we're going to need to expand the shipyards by 300%, just to have room for this thing. The ship is so big that our largest construction platforms will look like toys next to it. The first problems appeared immediately. The alien blueprints called for materials that didn't exist anywhere in human space. The hull required something called quantum-bonded titanium, which was stronger than any metal humans had ever created. The power systems needed exotic matter cores that operated on principles human physicists barely understood. Dr. Carter led the materials science team. She was a quiet woman who had spent years working with experimental metals and composites. For 3 months, her team failed to create even the simplest components from the alien designs. The quantum bonding process required temperatures and pressures that destroyed human equipment. "We're missing something fundamental," Carter told Foster during one of their weekly meetings. "The aliens had some technique or tool that we don't understand. Without it, we can't make the materials we need." Meanwhile, the weapons team faced their own impossible challenges. The Star Destroyer's main cannon was designed to fire projectiles at nearly the speed of light. The energy requirements were so massive that the weapon would need its own power plant. And the targeting systems used mathematics that human computers couldn't process fast enough. Engineer Blake worked 18-hour days trying to understand the alien manufacturing techniques. The blueprints showed assembly processes that seemed to violate basic physics. Components were somehow fused together at the molecular level, creating joints stronger than the materials themselves. "It's like they had tools that could manipulate matter at the atomic level," Blake explained to his frustrated team. "Every connection, every joint, every component is perfectly integrated. Our manufacturing systems can't even come close to this level of precision." The political pressure was enormous. Earth's government was spending more money on Project Prometheus than they had spent on space exploration in the previous 50 years. Colonial leaders demanded to know why resources weren't being used for immediate defense needs. Instead of an experimental warship that might never work, Senator Williams led the opposition in the Colonial Council. "We're gambling humanity's future on alien technology we don't understand," he argued. "We should be building defensive stations around our colonies, not wasting resources on this impossible dream." But Hayes refused to back down. "Those defensive stations won't stop the Dominion," he replied. "We've seen what happened to the Valyrians. They had defensive stations too. The only thing that might save us is being strong enough to fight back." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Carter was working late one night when she accidentally created a small piece of quantum-bonded metal. It happened when her equipment malfunctioned and created a brief burst of energy that mimicked conditions inside a star. The metal that formed was exactly what the alien blueprints required. "I don't fully understand how it works," Carter admitted to the excited team that gathered around her laboratory. "But I think we can replicate the process. We'll need to build entirely new equipment, but it's possible." Within weeks, Carter's team had developed industrial processes for creating the exotic materials. The techniques were dangerous and expensive, but they worked. For the first time since the project began, humans were actually building components that matched alien specifications. Blake made his own breakthrough with the manufacturing systems. Instead of trying to copy alien techniques exactly, he found ways to achieve the same results using human methods. Where the aliens used molecular fusion, Blake used advanced welding techniques. Where they used atomic-level precision, he used computer-controlled assembly systems. "We're not building it the same way they did," Blake explained to Foster. "But we're getting the same results. Sometimes human engineering is just different, not worse." The weapons team solved their power problems by redesigning the entire system. Instead of one massive power plant for the main cannon, they created a distributed network of smaller generators. The human design was actually more efficient than the alien original because it could be repaired and maintained more easily. Chief Designer Park coordinated all the different teams as the project gained momentum. The expanded shipyards buzzed with activity as thousands of workers began assembling the first components. The Star Destroyer's frame started taking shape, stretching across multiple construction platforms. "It's actually happening," Park told Foster as they watched the massive hull sections being welded together. "6 months ago, this was just alien data. Now we're building something that might actually work." The ship's internal systems presented new challenges every day. The alien computers were incredibly advanced, but they were designed for alien users. Human engineers had to create new interface systems that would allow human crews to operate alien technology. The life support systems needed complete redesign. The aliens had different atmospheric requirements and different ideas about comfortable living spaces. Every corridor, every room, every system had to be modified for human use while maintaining the ship's combat capabilities. As the Star Destroyer grew larger, so did humanity's confidence. Workers who had thought the project was impossible now took pride in solving problems that no human had ever faced before. They were building something that would protect their families and their worlds from threats beyond imagination. The ship was still months away from completion, but already it looked like something that could challenge the galaxy's greatest powers. As the Star Destroyer's construction moved into its second year, something unexpected began happening. Human engineers weren't just copying alien designs anymore. They were making them better. What started as an attempt to build an exact replica of Valyrian technology had become something entirely new. Commander Wright led the weapons testing division in a secure facility on Luna. His team had been working with the Star Destroyer's main cannon systems for months, and they had discovered something the original alien designers had missed. The Valyrians built this weapon for one purpose, Wright explained to Captain Foster during a test demonstration: long-range bombardment of stationary targets. But watch what happens when we modify the power flow patterns. Wright activated his modifications, and the massive cannon's energy readings shifted dramatically. Instead of one devastating blast, the weapon could now fire rapid bursts, or widespread attacks, or even precision shots accurate enough to hit small fighters. The human modifications had turned one weapon into 5 different tools. "How did you figure this out?" Foster asked, impressed by the demonstration. "Human warfare is different," Wright replied with a grin. "The Valyrians fought in straight lines, big ship against big ship. Humans learned to be creative because we were always outnumbered. We needed weapons that could adapt to any situation." Dr. Lisa Chun worked on the ship's computer systems from her laboratory deep inside the shipyard. The original alien AI was powerful but simple, designed to follow orders without question. Chun had different ideas about what an AI should do. "Military AIs need to think independently," Chun explained to her programming team. "In combat, communication gets cut off. Equipment fails, plans fall apart. An AI that can only follow orders is useless when everything goes wrong." Chun's team integrated human neural network technology with the alien computer core. The result was an AI that could learn, adapt, and make decisions on its own. It could predict enemy movements, suggest tactical alternatives, and even create new strategies during battle. The AI's first test was remarkable. When presented with a simulated combat scenario, it analyzed the situation and proposed 17 different tactical solutions within seconds. More importantly, it could explain why each solution might work and what risks were involved. The alien AI would have followed whatever orders it received, Chun told the amazed observers. "Our AI evaluates those orders and suggests improvements. It's like having the best military strategist in human history as your advisor." Lieutenant Murphy was only 25 years old, but she had ideas that amazed the veteran engineers around her. She worked on the ship's defensive systems, and she refused to accept that alien technology couldn't be improved. The Valyrian shields are impressive, Murphy said during a team meeting. They can stop energy weapons and deflect physical projectiles. But they have a fundamental weakness. They treat all threats the same way. Murphy's breakthrough came when she combined alien energy manipulation with human electromagnetic theory. Her new shield system could analyze incoming attacks and adjust its defenses accordingly. Energy weapons encountered different resistance than projectiles. Fast attacks were handled differently than slow ones. It's like having smart armor, Murphy explained. The shields actually learn from each attack and get better at stopping similar threats. A weapon that works once might not work twice. The test results were stunning. Murphy's hybrid shields were 40% more effective than the original alien design, and they used 30% less power. Even better, they could be modified and upgraded as new threats appeared. Engineer Blake continued revolutionizing the manufacturing processes. Where the aliens had used complex molecular techniques, Blake found simpler human methods that achieved better results. His team developed new assembly procedures that made the ship stronger and easier to repair. The aliens were perfectionists. Blake told his manufacturing crews, every component had to be absolutely perfect, which made repairs almost impossible. We're building this ship to be fixed, modified, and upgraded. It's not just a weapon. It's a platform for continuous improvement. Blake's human-designed joints and connections were actually stronger than the alien originals because they could flex under stress instead of breaking. His modular assembly system meant that damaged sections could be replaced quickly in battle. While alien ships would need weeks in a shipyard for similar repairs, the fighter base systems received a complete human redesign. The Valyrians had used their star destroyers to carry large, heavily armed fighters that could engage enemy capital ships. Human pilots had different ideas about space combat. Size doesn't matter if you can't hit your target, explained Commander Davis, the ship's fighter wing leader. Human fighters are smaller and faster than alien designs. We need launch systems that can get dozens of fighters into space quickly, not just a few big ones. The human-designed fighter bays could launch and recover fighters 3 times faster than the original alien design. The new system used magnetic catapults and recovery nets that could handle fighters moving at incredible speeds. More importantly, it could service multiple types of fighters simultaneously. Dr. Patel worked on the ship's power distribution systems. The alien design used a centralized power core that fed energy throughout the ship. Patel created a hybrid system that combines central power with distributed backup generators. If the main reactor gets damaged, the ship doesn't die, Patel explained. Our backup systems can keep essential functions running indefinitely. The aliens never thought of redundancy because their ships were supposed to be invulnerable. The human power system was so efficient that the Star Destroyer actually had excess energy capacity. This allowed the engineering teams to add new systems that hadn't existed in the original design. Point defense weapons, additional shields, enhanced sensors, and backup communication systems all became possible. The ship's armor received human improvements that made it both stronger and lighter. Where the aliens used solid metal plates, human engineers created layered composite armor that could absorb impacts and distribute damage across larger areas. Alien armor was like wearing a steel helmet, explained materials specialist Rodriguez. Effective, but if something got through, you were in trouble. Our armor is like wearing a modern ballistic vest. It's designed to stop threats while keeping the wearer mobile and comfortable. Captain Foster walked through the nearly completed Star Destroyer and marveled at what human ingenuity had accomplished. The ship was recognizably based on alien technology, but every system had been touched by human innovation. It was bigger, faster, stronger, and more versatile than anything the Valyrians had ever built. We didn't just copy their homework, Foster told the assembled engineering teams during their final design review. We took their ideas and made them work the way humans fight. This isn't a Valyrian Star Destroyer anymore. It's a human warship, built with the best technology we could find. The ship was ready for final assembly, and with it, humanity was ready to take its place among the galaxy's military powers. The completed Star Destroyer hung in space above New Geneva like a metal mountain. Captain Anderson stood on the bridge for the first time, looking out at the command center that would be his new home. The ship was magnificent and terrifying. At the same time, every surface gleamed with new metal and advanced technology that no human had ever operated before. Ship status report. Anderson called out to his crew of 8,000 humans who had trained for 2 years to operate this vessel. All systems green, Captain, reported Commander Phillips, the ship's executive officer. Reactors are running at optimal levels. Weapon systems are charged and ready. The crew is at battle stations. Anderson nodded and walked to the captain's chair at the center of the bridge. The chair was designed for human comfort, but connected to every system on the ship. When he sat down, displays lit up around him showing the status of thousands of components. The ship's AI, enhanced with human neural networks, spoke in a calm voice. Captain Anderson, this is Ship AI designation Artemis. All crew members are at their stations. The ship is ready for its first mission. The mission had come sooner than anyone expected. 3 days earlier, Dominion scout ships had been detected at the edge of human space. They were fast vessels, clearly designed for reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Worse, they were heading toward Titan's Rest, a mining colony with 15,000 human civilians. Captain, called out Lieutenant Taylor from the communication station. We're receiving a distress signal from Titan's Rest. Multiple unknown ships have entered their system. The colony's defensive platforms are engaging, but they're heavily outgunned. Anderson felt his pulse quicken. This was it. The moment that would test everything humanity had built. How long until we reach Titan's Rest? 18 hours at maximum speed, sir, replied Navigator Chun. Take us there. Maximum acceleration. The Defiance moved through space like a predator, hunting prey. Its massive engines pushed the ship faster than any human vessel had ever traveled. In the engineering sections, Chief Engineer Wilson monitored systems that were performing beyond all expectations. The human modifications were working perfectly. Captain, Wilson reported over the ship's communication system. All engines are operating at 112% of design capacity. The human power distribution system is handling the load without any problems. As they traveled toward Titan's Rest, the crew ran final system checks and prepared for their first real combat. Commander Wright's weapons teams loaded the massive cannons with human-manufactured ammunition. The hybrid projectiles combined alien energy technology with human explosive compounds, creating shells that were far more destructive than the original Valyrian designs. Weapons status? Anderson asked. Main battery is loaded and ready, sir. Wright reported. Point defense systems are online. Fighter bays are prepared to launch on your command. All weapon systems are responding perfectly to human control interfaces. Dr. Chun's AI system was already analyzing the tactical situation at Titan's Rest. Using data from long-range sensors, Artemis created detailed projections of the battle that was taking place 18 hours ahead of them. Captain, Artemis reported. Sensor data indicates 6 Dominion warships attacking the colony. Based on their energy signatures, they appear to be patrol vessels, each approximately 1/3 the size of this ship. The colony's defenses are failing. Anderson studied the tactical display. 6 ships wasn't a massive fleet, but they were Dominion vessels with technology that had conquered entire civilizations. This would be the ultimate test of human modifications to alien technology. Time to arrival? 14 hours, sir. When? The Defiance finally dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Titan's rest system. The battle was already raging. The colony's defensive platforms were burning wrecks floating in space. 3 of the 6 Dominion ships were bombarding the planet's surface while the other 3 moved to intercept the human Star Destroyer. "Captain," called out Sensor Officer Park, "the Dominion ships are changing course to engage us. They're moving into attack formation." Anderson watched the enemy ships on his display. They were sleek, angular vessels that moved with deadly grace. Their weapons were already charging, energy readings climbing toward combat levels. "All hands, this is the captain," Anderson announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to engage Dominion forces for the first time. Remember your training. Trust your equipment. Show them what humans can do." The first Dominion ship opened fire from extreme range. Brilliant energy beams lanced across space toward the Defiance. But Lieutenant Murphy's hybrid shield system was ready. The shields analyzed the incoming energy and adapted their frequency to provide maximum protection. "Shields holding at 96%, Murphy reported from her station. "The adaptive systems are working perfectly. Each shot is less effective than the previous one." Anderson smiled grimly. "Return fire, all weapons." The Defiance unleashed its fury for the first time. The main cannons fired with a sound like thunder, sending massive projectiles screaming toward the enemy ships. The hybrid ammunition combined alien energy with human explosives in ways the Dominion had never seen before. The first Dominion ship took a direct hit and simply vanished in a ball of fire and metal fragments. The explosion was so violent that the other 2 attacking ships had to change course to avoid the debris field. "Direct hit on Target 1, Wright reported with excitement in his voice. "Target destroyed. Enemy vessels are regrouping." The second Dominion ship tried a different approach, using its superior speed to circle around the Defiance and attack from the side. But Artemis had predicted this tactic and was already adjusting the ship's position. "Rotating the port," reported the helmsman. "Bringing secondary batteries to bear." The human-modified point defense systems tracked the fast-moving enemy ship and opened fire with hundreds of smaller weapons. The Dominion vessel's shields flickered and failed under the concentrated assault. A single shot from the main cannon finished it off. The remaining 4 Dominion ships found themselves facing something they had never encountered before. The Defiance was not just heavily armed and well defended. It was unpredictable. Human tactics and alien technology created combinations that the enemy could not anticipate or counter. 3 more ships destroyed, Wright reported as the battle continued. 2 ships remaining. They're trying to escape. Don't let them get away, Anderson ordered. "Launch fighters." The human-designed fighter bays opened and dozens of small, fast fighters poured out into space. They moved with the aggressive tactics that human pilots had developed over centuries of warfare. The Dominion ships, designed to fight large vessels in formation combat, had no answer for swarms of small attackers. Within 30 minutes of arriving at Titan's Rest, the Defiance had destroyed 6 Dominion warships without taking any significant damage. The colony was saved, and humanity had won its first victory against the galaxy's most feared military force. News of the victory at Titan's Rest traveled across human space faster than any ship could fly. Within days, every human colony knew that the Defiance had faced Dominion warships and won. For the first time in their history, humans had proven they could stand against the galaxy's most feared military force. Director Hayes called an emergency meeting of the Colonial Defense Council. The room was filled with excitement and fear in equal measure. Everyone understood that the victory would bring consequences that could change everything for humanity. "The Dominion now knows we exist," Hayes told the assembled leaders, "and they know we can fight. This changes our situation completely. We can no longer hide in our corner of space and hope they ignore us." Admiral Kane, recently promoted to Fleet Commander stood before a massive display showing human space and the surrounding regions. Red markers indicated known Dominion territories, which seemed to surround human colonies like a closing fist. Intelligence reports indicate the Dominion is massing forces along our borders, Kane explained. Our victory at Titan's Rest wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a declaration of war. They're going to come for us with everything they have. The decision was made quickly. Humanity would build an entire fleet of Star Destroyers. Construction began immediately at shipyards across human space. The lessons learned from building the Defiance made the process faster and more efficient. Each new ship incorporated improvements and modifications that made them even more powerful than the original. Captain Foster, now promoted to Admiral, oversaw the construction of 12 new Star Destroyers. The shipyards at New Geneva, Mars, and Europa worked around the clock. Thousands of engineers and workers who had learned their skills building the first ship now trained others in the techniques of advanced starship construction. Each ship is unique, Foster explained to the other fleet commanders. We're not just copying the Defiance. Every Star Destroyer incorporates new ideas and improvements. By the time we finish the 12th ship, it will be twice as powerful as the first. Dr. Chun's AI technology was installed in every new ship, but each AI developed its own personality and tactical preferences. The fleet would have 12 different strategic minds working together, creating tactical possibilities that no single commander could imagine alone. It's like having 12 different chess masters on your team, Chun told Kane during one of the AI integration tests. Each one sees the battle differently, but they can share information instantly and coordinate their actions perfectly. Meanwhile, the Dominion was not idle. Long-range scouts reported massive fleet movements in Dominion space. Ships were being recalled from distant conquests and concentrated into invasion armadas. The enemy was preparing for the largest military operation in their history. Commander Davis, now captain of his own Star Destroyer, led reconnaissance missions to gather intelligence on Dominion preparations. What his ships discovered was terrifying. The enemy was assembling over 200 warships for the attack on human space. They're not taking any chances, Davis reported to Kane. This isn't a patrol or a raid. They're bringing enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. They want to make sure humans are completely eliminated. The Dominion fleet began moving toward human space 6 months after the battle at Titan's Rest. Their advance was slow but unstoppable, conquering neutral systems and destroying any opposition they encountered. Refugees fled ahead of the invasion, bringing stories of total destruction and merciless conquest. Kane positioned the human fleet along the frontier worlds, using the Star Destroyers as mobile fortresses that could respond to threats across multiple systems. The Defiance took the center position, with the newer ships spread out to cover the most likely invasion routes. Remember, Kane told his fleet commanders during their final briefing, we're not trying to match them ship for ship. We're using human tactics against an enemy that thinks in straight lines. Be unpredictable. Be creative. Make them fight our kind of war. When the Dominion Armada finally arrived at the edge of human space, it was a sight that would have terrified any other species in the galaxy. Over 200 massive warships moved in perfect formation, their combined firepower capable of destroying planets. At their head flew the command ship, a vessel larger than any human had ever seen. Captain Anderson watched the enemy fleet approach from the bridge of the Defiance. His crew was calm and ready, their confidence built on months of training, and the knowledge that their ship had already proven itself in battle. Sir, reported Sensor Officer Park, enemy fleet consists of 237 vessels. They're maintaining formation and advancing on all frontier worlds simultaneously. The battle began when the Dominion fleet split into multiple groups, each one targeting a different human colony. But Kane had anticipated this tactic. Instead of trying to defend everything, He concentrated his forces and struck at the enemy's weakest point. "All ships, this is Fleet Command," Kane announced. "Execute Plan Alpha. Target the command vessel." The 13 human star destroyers moved as one, using their superior speed and maneuverability to punch through the enemy formation. Their combined firepower overwhelmed the Dominion escorts and struck directly at the enemy command ship. The human attack was unlike anything the Dominion had ever faced. Instead of fighting in orderly formations, the star destroyers used chaotic tactics that made them impossible to predict. They appeared where the enemy least expected them and vanished before effective counterattacks could be organized. Artemis and the other ship A's coordinated the assault with precision that amazed even their human operators. Each ship knew exactly where the others would be and what they would do. The fleet fought like a single organism with 13 different weapons. "Enemy command ship is taking heavy damage," Wright reported from his weapons station. "Their formation is breaking up." The destruction of the Dominion command ship threw their entire fleet into confusion. Without central coordination, their overwhelming numbers became a disadvantage. Ships collided with each other, trying to respond to human attacks that came from every direction at once. One by one, Dominion vessels were destroyed or disabled. Their superior technology meant nothing against human tactics that they could not understand or counter. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves helpless against an enemy that refused to fight the way wars were supposed to be fought. When the battle ended, over half the Dominion fleet was destroyed. The survivors retreated in disorder, carrying news of a defeat that shocked the entire galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion expansion had been stopped. The victory established humanity as a major galactic power, but not through conquest or domination. Humans became known as the species that took the best ideas from everyone else and made them better. The Defiance became the flagship of humanity's new space navy, and the symbol of their refusal to be conquered by anyone.